with my November Plan With Me video, and since November is my husband's birthday month and he is a huge coffee lover, I wanted to go with a coffee theme. As I was planning my doodles out, I thought it needed a little something extra, so I added in these adorable doodles of this chibi girl enjoying her cups of coffee. Starting off with my cover page, I drew this giant cup of steaming hot coffee with the chibi inside, as if it was like a hot spring. If you don't know what chibi is, it's a Japanese slang word for short, and it's also an art style for anime and manga where the character is drawn with big heads and a small stubby body and limbs. So from now on, I'm just going to refer to her as chibi. So I started off by drawing a towel on top of her head, and for her hair, I just made a bunch of small spiky shapes that are different sizes and point in different directions to create a messy updo look. Her arms resting on the rim of the cup are teardrop shapes, and for her face, I made sure to include these really small dash lines across her cheeks to give them a flushed look. On the cup, I wrote out November, and at the bottom of the page, I threw in a little calendar to help fill up the empty space. For the steam and the coffee, I used a medium brown color, and you can see me adding a few more layers of color to the bottom. That helps create a shadowed look and gives everything a little more dimension. And I used a really light gray color to add some shading into the towel as well as the cup and saucer. For the chibi, I went with a peachy tan color and used a pale pink for her cheek and mouth. Since I have dark hair, I used a dark brown color, but you can totally change up the hair color to whatever you want to use. You can make it look more like yourself or your favorite character. You just do you. Moving on to the calendar spread, in the bottom right corner, I'm starting off with the chibi doodle first, so the pen ink has enough time to dry. Since the tan color is so light, it can smudge the ink really easily, so I wanted to give it as much time as I could. I drew a winter hat with a pom-pom on top, and for her hair, I'm using the same spiky shape, but this time her hair is down. I also added a nice warm scarf and a big jacket. She's holding a little coffee cup, and I drew this little puff cloud coming out of her mouth to show that she's drinking a really nice and hot drink on a chilly day. And that's basically the quote I added on the side: cold days, hot drinks. Next, I'm writing out November at the top left of the page and using the same cursive font to write out the days of the week at the top of the calendar and for the to-do list. Here I had a lot of fun with colors. I was really inspired by amandarachlee's bubble tea theme, where she used her pastel markers to color in her calendar boxes. I thought it would look super interesting, and I wanted to do something similar with mine this month since I knew the rest of my spreads would be super doodle heavy, and I wanted to keep this page toned down a bit with the doodles. So this style of calendar boxes helps give this page a nice pop of color while still being really simple and easy to do. I alternated between a really light beige, a medium brown, a darker reddish brown, and a super deep dark chocolatey brown color. I filled some boxes in completely while leaving others empty in the middle. I had no rhyme or reason while doing this really, I just filled them in where I thought was necessary. Then in the bottom right corner of the boxes, I added a black circle with my Tombow hard tip brush pen, and then I used my POSCA white marker to add the dates in on top. I thought the rest of the page needed a bit more color, so I used the light beige and traced over November and to do, and that gives it a really nice subtle pop. Now coloring the chibi for her winter clothes, I wanted to keep it light, so I just used the beige color for everything and added a few extra layers where I wanted to be slightly darker. For her coffee cup, I used the pink for the sleeve and the light gray for the rest. Now I really love how my mood tracker turned out. I think it's so cute. So I wanted it to look like my chibi is having a super long day of studying or getting a ton of work done, and she's daydreaming about all the coffee she needs to help wake her up. I feel like so many of us can relate on so many levels. This time I gave her a messy bun and I made a little bit of drool coming out of her mouth. Since her head is resting against her hand, I made this curved shape to make her cheek look like it's being squished, and of course her t-shirt has a bunch of sleepy little Z's on it. If this isn't a whole mood, then I don't know what is. Off to the side, she's got this big stack of books, and to give the pages some dimension, I added these really light lines on the edges. At the bottom, to show my mood colors, I drew in these big coffee beans, which are basically just two oval shapes stacked close together, but you want to make sure to leave a little gap in between them, and this is like the little ridge that's in the middle of actual coffee beans. For my mood colors, I'm going to be using 5 different shades of brown. The lightest beige means I'm feeling super happy, and the darkest brown, almost black color, means that it's just a really bad day. So then I made these dream cloud bubbles coming off the top of her head, with one giant one at the top where I'm going to doodle in all different types of coffee cups and pots inside. I used small round cups, square cups, to-go cups, cold coffee cups with straws, and coffee pots. Some of them have whipped cream on them and others are spilling a little bit of coffee. I just wanted to try and make them look as different as possible. Then I added in little dates on the side of each cup. For my habit tracker, I kept this more simple since my mood tracker had so much doodling, so I wrote out my 9 habits and I outlined the shape of the calendar underneath. At the bottom, I added in this quote, but first coffee, totally words to live by, and I used my Tombow brush pen to add some black coffee beads around. And as you can see, that was really quick and easy to do. To give this page some color, I filled in the calendar shapes with my different shades of brown, and I used the light gray color for some drop shadows. And now onto my first weekly spread. I filled in the top left corner with this cute quote. Coffee is always a good idea. And I put the I and the A inside a cup of black coffee using my POSCA white marker. You all know how much I love this layout. Since I start my weeks off on a Monday, but this month starts on a Friday, I needed to fit 10 days onto a single page. So this layout is perfect for that. Each box is 8 by 10 with one box space in between each row. And I divided the weekend boxes in half diagonally since I usually don't need as much space on Saturdays and Sundays. Inside the boxes, I wrote out the days of the week in capital letters with a brown marker before going over with my Micron pen in lowercase cursive letters. You just want to make sure that you match up the letters, and this makes the font style look super interesting. I didn't like how thin the numbers look, so I fixed that in the end. Moving on to the next week, I added in these little coffee cup doodles all across the top of the page with these little black coffee beans around them. And then I went in with this cool boxy font style. So I just wrote out the days using this capitalized serif font, and on one side, I made that line into a thicker box. You just want to make sure you stick with the same side when making the boxy shape so it all looks cohesive. At the bottom, I divided it into a smaller weekend section and a note section. I used all 5 different shades of brown markers for the doodles and chose the medium brown color to fill in the fonts. Then I used the light beige just to trace over the numbers for a little extra pop. So this third week barely took any time to do. This is a super easy layout that can be customized with any doodle that fits your theme really. So for mine, I doodled 6 different coffee cups, having 2 across and 3 down, and making sure to leave enough space in between to write. I wrote the dates inside each cup, and below I just put the days of the week using this bubble font style, again combining Saturday and Sunday. At the bottom, I added my notes section with little black coffee beans and dots floating around. I used the light beige color to fill in the major parts of the cups, and I used the medium brown for the little accent parts. To color in the text, I used the darker reddish brown marker, and again, I didn't like how the thin numbers were, so I made them a little thicker with my Tombow brush pen in the end. And finally, onto my last weekly spread. Since I hadn't drawn my little chibi girl for a while, I wanted to include her on my final page. So in the top right corner, I included this really adorable doodle of her falling into a coffee cup with the words "Forget love, a fall and coffee" around her. This was inspired by a drawing I found on Pinterest by Joanne Raptis, and I thought it was so cute and perfect for this theme. So I doodled her little winter outfit with the hat flying off above her with all these little hearts flying around. At the bottom, I drew in a little coffee cup with a heart on it, and I filled everything in with the same colors I've been using throughout my spreads. Again, I added a bit of shading by layering more colors around the cup and inside the coffee. Then on the left side, I used the Tombow brush pen to write out the days of the week with a large black circle on the edge, which is where I'll put the date numbers on top with my POSCA white pen. Here you can see that I totally messed up spelling Wednesday, and I had to sit there for a second to process it. I was just like, wait, something looks wrong. So to fix it, I went over it with my POSCA white pen a couple times and gave it time to dry down before I tried writing over it again. Underneath the doodle, I included my notes section and used a brown marker to make stripes inside the box with a gray drop shadow just to give this page some more color. And once that white dried down enough, I went back and finished Wednesday with my Micron pen using faux calligraphy. I found that the thinner pen tip was better than a bigger brush pen tip since it bled less into the white. And that wraps up my November plan with me. I'm actually really proud of how this month turned out. October was pretty hectic for me, and even though I feel like I didn't have enough time for journaling, I'm glad I found such an easy theme that still turned out super cute. Also, at the end, I'm featuring an absolutely amazing recreation of my October Harry Potter cover page theme by Spurs on Instagram, so shout out to you. Thank you so much for tagging me and using my spread as inspiration. I am totally honored, and you did such an amazing job. So if you want to recreate any of these spreads, please tag me on Instagram at AFZXX3 to be featured in my videos. I honestly can't wait to see them, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!